motherfuckers. All right, you know what? I'm putting y'all on blast.
Okay, this is recorded, so this is the episode. What are you putting on blast?
All you, and I'm gonna turn it around and not finish what I was going to say. Motherfuckers out there, all you Marvel fanboys, okay, I get it. You go into the movie theater and you watch a dope-ass movie and you can't help but compare it to something else. I've heard people say that this movie is okay.
Okay.
Okay? What world are we living in that this movie is okay?
Why are you getting mad at the people saying this is okay and not the people getting incredibly sexist?
Those two people are the worst. So I had to pivot. I had to pivot real hard.
Okay.
And I had to just think of something.
We're talking about Captain Marvel. This is Topics. This is Wi-Fi Friends Topics. We're talking about Captain Marvel. I'm a little bit flustered now because of that. John, my name's Cam. Hello, John.
Hey, how's it going? We started in media res.
We did. So, John,
much like this movie does.
Ooh.
Damn.
Ooh. We didn't. We haven't talked about Captain Marvel with each other. In preparation for this podcast, which is kind of fun, except for the few gifts that we sent each other.
Yes. I am though upset with the amount of GIF availability there is.
We gotta wait
it's
for the
all
DVD.
mostly the same too.
You gotta wait for the DVD, man. Do you remember when Green Lantern came out and all the gifts before the movie, like
they were all fuzzy.
They're all fuzzy, but then there was also the one from the trailer that we always use still to this day, where he's like, "I know, right?"
It's my favorite quote, my favorite line. Ryan Reynolds is a gem.
He is.
Which, speaking of Green Lantern, this movie just made me sad.
Ooh, okay, so if you don't know what Captain Marvel is, she is a superhero. She's been around for ages. She's gone under the name Miss Marvel, but also a bunch of things. But recently, I say recently, it's only because it happened while I was reading comics. It's been a while. She became Captain Marvel. Like, I have the first appearance of her.
4. I met Kelly Sue DeConnick, who, fun fact, was in the movie.
Was she?
Yeah, when Captain Marvel comes off the subway train.
Okay.
And she sees the woman with the red hair.
Yes.
Of like when she's just scanning people to see who the scroll is. That's Kelly Sue. I literally turn to Christina and I just start slapping her arm as if it's some, as if I just saw, like a major, like Thanos. I was like.
Okay, I'm glad that you also saw this with your wife because we'll have similar experiences. Let's get into this really quick because we don't want to be dilly-dallying. Let's do a quick spoiler-free review. Just your thoughts on the movie in general, just without spoiling anything. What did you think of the movie, John?
I think I'd have to rethink. One of the problems is that I do not rewatch a lot of Marvel movies, so a lot of my opinions on them is just what I feel like. Yes. However, if I had a list of my favorite origin movies, this would definitely probably be number 1 or 2.
Ooh.
I think. And then on my overall top 5, I still want to say it's in the top 5, but it's hard to compare this movie to the big team-up movies because they're just this weird time and special place. But I thought this was really fun. I loved the comedy. I thought it was really funny. I liked the action was really cool and kind of well choreographed and different from what we've seen from other Marvel movies.
Yes.
And I think how they did the origin and how do I say this? I think they did it really well because they kind of not subverted, but they didn't go with the basic formula that they usually use.
Yes.
Which I think was really, really smart and also allows you as the audience to infer and fill in the blank instead of just having everything blatantly thrown at you. It was really well done.
I personally, my experience with this movie was interesting. I went to the cinema. I didn't really know what to think. I've always liked Captain Marvel in like the Avengers comics, but the only thing I've read of herself was like that original Captain Marvel trade paperback, like Volume 1, when she like travels to like the past, or maybe it's the future, and she's going through.
It's the past, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a really interesting comic. Highly recommended if you enjoyed this movie. It's a good place to kind of jump into Captain Marvel. However, I didn't really go into this movie with much expectations, except for the fact that, as many people are, I'm kind of getting this Marvel fatigue thing, which is like Marvel movies have to be above and beyond good, you know? Like a Marvel movie can't just be good. Like Ant-Man and the Wasp was good, you know? It was a good film, but because it was a Marvel film, I was expecting so much more. So it kind of let me down.
The funny thing is like, because I was watching Kind of Funny's Marvel in review,
Okay.
and they did Captain Marvel, and I don't 100% agree with their placement or some of their critiques about it. But one of their things was like, it looks like this movie's low on the list, but the lower half of this list, even like, going down to like 10 or going down to like the 15s or whatever, are still good movies.
Yes, absolutely. And
So even if you do like a top, rank all the movies, it's like, oh man, wow, that movie's down at like 18. It's like, well, that's still not bad.
Yeah, exactly. Like I did coming up to Infinity War, when Infinity War was coming out. Me and my friend Reese, we rewatched all the Marvel movies and we rated them all. And I think only one or two got below average. So like all of them were at least watchable. So that's crazy. However, so with that context, with the fact that I got a bit of Marvel fatigue, and I think everyone does to a certain point, it affects you differently depending on what characters you like. And the fact that I wasn't super into Captain Marvel as a character, I went in and the first, like, I don't know, I don't want to put a number on it because I can't remember the movie as well as, this happened at this, time mark. But, like, I was watching the opening and I was like, oh, man, I'm liking this, but, like, it's not grabbing me. It's like, I'm enjoying this. I'm glad I paid and I'm enjoying it and I'm eating food and I'm here with my wife for the midnight show and this is fun. And then, so I did enjoy the movie. I don't want to harp on the first half of the movie. It was good. It was above a 5. It was really good. It was Marvel standard, but it wasn't like Marvel Gold. And then something happens halfway through the movie that just like rocket propels this film into outer space. Like not literally, but also kind of literally.
Yeah. So I actually, it's funny because I brought up the Kind of Funny thing. They brought up something that I was like, oh wow, that really makes sense. This has opposite Wonder Woman, where Wonder Woman, the first half is really good.
Oh, yes. The
second half is trash. Not trash, but it's...
I was going to say, I don't think it's trash.
It's not trash. I like Wonder Woman. The second half, however, is very by the numbers.
Yes.
Captain Marvel, the first half is like, okay, like, has some interesting things, but, like, it's kind of slow. And then the second half of the movie is just... basically, it like rewards you for sitting through the first half.
Yes, and I do want to reiterate this. Oh my god, I just said so many syllables. I do want to reiterate that I did enjoy the movie as a whole. I just think that maybe it was the mood I was in, or maybe the movie itself. When I rewatch it, I'll let you guys know what I feel about it. But just the first half, it felt like it was trying to kind of get its foot in, and to be fair to the film, it had to explain a load of stuff before it could really get into the meat of the story.
You forget how much of the Marvel Universe has not been explored until you realize that we're this deep in, and people don't understand what the Kree is.
Yes, exactly. And
like, I just remembered, I was like, oh yeah, Guardians didn't explain shit about the Kree.
Yeah, I like Guardians because they have this attitude of like, we'll use a bunch of things from Marvel Comics, and then someone else will explain it. We're just going to use it all. So that's kind of my opinion of the film. I thought it was really good after the whole experience of watching it, and it is definitely on the upper half of Marvel movies for me. So yes, do not get discouraged by the fact that I said the beginning was slow. I just think, if anything, it made the ending way more satisfying. Now, John, from here on, spoilers, really spoilers, and
hard cut.
We have to move really quick. Were you saying like actual hard cut, like you need to cut?
No, not actual hard cut. And then it'd be great if the bit is that you do literally hard cut, and then it's just to the same conversation.
Hard cut, and then so anyway. Okay, John. I'm going to break this down really fast. We're going to go through, but we have to stick on topic because this is what we're doing. We're doing topics, dude. This is it. John, what did you think of the character and the acting of Captain Marvel, Brie Larson?
So at first, I was a little worried watching the trailers because I was like, why is she? This is an Emmy award-winning, Academy award-winning actress. Like, why is she delivering these lines so weird? And then you watch the movie and you realize, oh, okay, she's an alien. Like, she is an alien on Earth Like, and so it took me a little bit to warm up to her line delivery.
Yes.
But then you get into that second half once she regains. I get. Does she ever fully regain her memories?
I want to believe that she kind of does because that is what I thought in the cinema and made me happy.
But then it did seem like that she was still like even when she was talking to Maria, or sorry, Monica Rambeau, the daughter.
Mm.
You could tell that I think she is still piecemealing certain aspects. I don't think it's like she
Yes.
knows her entire history, but I think she is getting like the major beats.
Yes, and I want to believe that she kind of and that Carol Danvers kind of is slowly taking over her personality because that is kind of the arc of the movie and not to get too outside of her character, I'll give my super big opinions, but I really like how other than every other superhero movie where it's like learning to become who you eventually will be, this movie takes it and does it in the reverse where it's like she
Yeah.
has to learn to become the hero she was. Like she used to be one of the best people you've ever met in your life, but now she's a blank slate and she kind of has to relearn how to be Carol Danvers, and the emphasis on that was so interesting for me, how they kind of pull her back into this thing. Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
Oh no, you're all good. So I think once you realize, like at first in the beginning, she is charming,
Mm,
and she is still, but there is that like in the back of your mind, like, why does everything sound so just? It's off. It's just off enough to like
mm.
make you feel weird, and I think it's done on purpose.
Yes, yes, yeah.
And then once full Carol starts to form, it's just, oh, she is amazing. She has a presence, like an on-screen presence.
Personally, my experience with her, it was very similar to yours, where at the beginning of the movie, I was like, what is happening? I don't really get the appeal. I was like, you're trying to like categorize what type of enjoyment is supposed to be. Am I supposed to find this character like, Chris Pratt or Paul Rudd, in Guardians and Ant-Man, where you're like, the main character is also the comedy relief. You're like, oh, okay. Or is it a bit more like Thor, where it's like, he can be powerful, but also charming and funny? Or is it like Cap, where she's just a straight like, oh, I'm gonna do the right thing, and you like look up to them? I couldn't put any category on her because I was like, it's kind of not coming across. But then after the twist, which I feel like even you should know if you're listening to this part of the podcast what the twist is, but the twist, one of the twists being that she used to be human and her memories were all taken away with her. And I think along with her memories, it's implied that her personality is also taken away from her. Because when she starts to get her memories back, she almost gets injected with life and she becomes a lot more fuller. And I think that was intentional, like you said. It's just the first time you watch this movie and you don't know that's what's going to happen, you're kind of like annoyed that she isn't like charming. But now I reckon if you go back and watch the movie again, with the knowledge that she is like this blank slate, it's going to have a more profound effect on you because you're going to see how she's acting and feel bad that she's not herself. Whereas when you see the movie the first time, you're like, she's just boring. You
Yeah.
get what I'm saying? But then, it completely redeems itself because when she becomes herself, like not fully, obviously, because the movie ends with her still unsure of who she was, but when she gets to as much Carol Danvers as she can, you have this amazing, like, it's a combination of this really emotional scene on the ground where it's all dialogue based and you really get to know Carol Danvers for the first time in the whole movie. And then that's followed by one of the best fight sequences I've ever seen. Right. We need to touch
So
on
good.
this. We need to touch on this. And I think this is what we'll do next because it's kind of the Carol Danvers aspect of the movie.
Yeah.
We went to see this with our wives. Christina and Jenny are two women that get dragged along to a lot of superhero stuff, I bet. And a lot of the stuff is filled with macho men being macho men, and being like, oh, you can be me one day, I think, but not really. Jen and I went to see Wonder Woman when it came out. And Jen liked Wonder Woman. I loved Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman had a massive effect on me. But for whatever reason, Jen just was like, yeah, I really like this movie, but, it didn't really, hit me in a way. And I was like, that's cool. Not every movie could be for everyone, but it was good to have a Wonder Woman movie, a female superhero movie. This was the film that was like, to Jen, this was the film that was like, oh shit, you can be a superhero. If you're a woman, you don't have to be a sidekick. You don't have to be the comic relief. Like the scene where she's fighting at the end and she's like, she doesn't understand her own strength, but she's enjoying it, and the fucking song is playing. What's the song? Oh,
I'm just a girl.
yes. Okay. So it was like I looked over at Jen and I was enjoying the scene, but just looking at her face and just the wonder in her eyes, I was like, oh, this is so good. This is what we need. Like, it's so good. I don't know about you, but I felt like, and this is not bashing Wonder Woman, because these movies shouldn't really be compared. Like, they're just two female superhero movies. But, like, Wonder Woman was a great movie with a female lead. This felt like it was kind of taking the idea of a female lead and pushing it to the forefront, which I thought was a good thing.
Well, see, I was going to say, my wife enjoyed Wonder Woman, but she had a main problem, which is that third act. And
Yes.
really, as much as we love Chris Pine, the entire outdated aspect of that character.
Yeah, I still argue for his
I think
character.
they did a good job with it in the movie of updating it and making him more of like a partner then. But
yeah, and he's kind of a damsel sometimes as well.
yeah, he's also a damsel in distress. But her main emotional arc kind of cruxing with
Yes.
him put my wife off.
Yes,
She's just like, oh, this is supposed to be like this big girl. While Captain Marvel, she's like, yes, no dudes, no men love interests. I'm in love with this. Like, this is great.
Yeah, so I think that needed to be touched on, because it's not something that you need, I don't think. I think this movie could have worked without the female empowerment, but the fact that they added it in and that it was specifically this character, who has got this history of coming from Miss Marvel, taking up the mantle of Captain Marvel, and then becoming more famous than the original Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
I think
right?
this was a perfect way to introduce that and kind of make this, that movie, the movie to rally behind. And I thought it was so good. I mean, the song choice at the end is so... It could have been any song. It could have been any fun 90s song. But it was the song, I'm just a girl. Like, it's just...
And then what I really like about the movie is that it's not... A lot of movies that are like, oh, we're a female empowerment movie, whatever, always have like the main character or some other side character, explaining that, oh, it's because you are a girl or whatever
Yes.
that you are, and it's kind of like talking down,
Yeah.
because it's just it's adding in a connotation to that word that wasn't ever there, that is just created by a horrible society. That either way, but this movie does a great job of, I think, showing you the institutionalized sexism
Okay. Yeah.
in all of, without feeling like she needed a moment to stand up for herself.
100%. I think it's good because...
Because even like Jude Law's whole argument about her being emotional could have, I mean, if the movie was about Marvel, he'd be saying the same thing because of like what the plot is trying to do with the inhibitor.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's also a complaint that, like, one of those classic terms of like, oh, woman can't do that, she's too emotional, you know? So it takes those ideas but contextualizes them in a way to where it's not like, oh, we're the men talking down to you, but
It is interesting how it never really... It feels very female empowering to a white guy. But, like, it feels very female empowering without ever having to come out and say it. It does a good job of doing it in a way that isn't, it's like show and don't tell. It's that classic role, and I think the movie does it really well. And I think that Wonder Woman, to a certain extent, does that too. There's no moment in Wonder Woman where people are like, you can't do that, you're a girl.
They both have great scenes that both give me goosebumps.
Yes.
This is one of the few, I mean, I guess I feel this a lot with the superhero movies, with the big team-up movies, I guess. But Wonder Woman had the No Man's Land scene.
Yes, 100%.
And Captain Marvel has a scene where you see her stand up throughout her entire life.
Oh,
standing up as a kid, as a young adult, as a young woman, and oh my God, it was as that scene was going on, I'm just like getting chills. I'm getting chills talking about it. It's just such a powerful moment of like, yep, this is who Carol Danvers is. And I love it because we see her memories in flashbacks, but they're
Yes.
very disjointed. They're very discombobulated. It's not like I think the longest scene is probably like the one where we see her how she loses her memories.
Yes, the
All the
explanation
other
of Marvel,
flashbacks
yeah.
are like 3 seconds,
Mm.
and it doesn't like sit down and just go, "We're gonna show you who Carol Danvers is." It's like no, you see the pieces of the puzzle and you go, "Okay, I'm gonna put this together and like I know who this character is." And so when
Yeah.
you get that scene, it's like, "Oh, I didn't need someone to sit Carol Danvers down and go, this is who you were. You were the type of person who would like," which is totally what we would have got if this was a cookie cutter origin movie.
Yeah, 100%. I think we should quickly move on now to not to
My,
just. Sorry.
I was gonna say it's my turn to give you something to talk about.
Ooh, okay, okay.
Yeah, mostly because I want to talk about the scrolls.
Yes, okay. I wasn't going to go there, but we'll go there straight away. The
It's gonna get
scrolls.
real quick
Ooh, ooh,
because I don't
okay.
have a lot to say. My main thing is I think that the turn is one of my. I think it was amazing.
Okay, yeah. I'll kind of. I want to get into this for people who don't know kind of what it meant to like comic book fans, because like the Skrulls are one of the most evil people of all time in the comics. Like the Skrulls are like one of the big bads. You say Skrull, I mean it even sounds like Skull. Like they've always been in the comics a terrifying enemy, not just because of the obvious thing, which is like they can infiltrate, which is played on really well in this movie. But you got things like Super Skrulls, you got the things like the Fantastic Four is like one of their main villains. So spoilers, changing the Skrulls origins and changing them basically on their head and 180ing. I felt bad for people who don't read comics. I know that's such a stupid thing to say, but like the twist had so much more of an effect on me because I know who the Skrulls are and I've known for so long. So that to be like, no, you're wrong. You don't know who the Skrulls are. It like affected me in a similar way that it would affect, Carol Danvers. Like it really turned it on its head. Because like if you go to see the movie and you don't know what a Skrull is, you go, okay, these are the bad guys. Oh no, they're not the bad guys. But if you go see the movie and you know what the Skrulls are, you're like, how are they the bad guys?
I think they did a great job of playing
Oh,
with audience expectations
so good.
with, and this could be an interesting with casting
Oh, yes,
because
Ben
they casted a
Mendelsohn.
guy who is always the bad guy, and so when you see that guy on screen, your brain goes, "Oh, he's evil," and so you associate that. And
Yes.
so for him to turn into one of my favorite
Oh,
characters,
he's my second favorite character, and
he's
we're gonna talk
so
about
funny.
we're gonna talk about the best character in the movie soon. But let's keep on the scrolls for now.
He is so funny, and then also I think it opens the door for other possibilities of like, hey, this was some scrolls, sure, but there's a theory that there's still a scroll left on Earth.
I would be surprised if there's not. Honestly, watching this movie, I was waiting for one of the like Avengers or one of the members of Shield to turn out to be a Skrull this whole time, and they didn't do that. That's interesting. But there's still a possibility the Skrulls are gonna. I mean, I
Yeah.
would be surprised if they just.
Well, and then I also think there's an opportunity for, say, this was just a subsection of scrolls, and there are a section of scrolls who feel angry that the Kree have taken so much from them and that nobody's done anything.
Mm.
Or also just like, man, where are the bad scrolls? Those are the good scrolls. Like, I still think there's a major opportunity for that to be able to occur.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say no to that. I think that would be fun. It would be fun to see like because in Guardians Ronan is broken off. He's no longer part of the Kree collective. He's like his own entity, and he's got his own little Kree army. They could totally do that with the Skrulls. It could be like most of the Skrulls are these refugees, but then like you said, a section of them got angry, and then when we jump 20 years into the future with Endgame, we're at a point now where maybe the Skrulls are having a civil war, or a secret war. but, but like the fact that they characterized the Skrulls in such a way, and it wasn't just like, oh, they're the ones who are being hunted. It was like these people are like refugees, like
Yeah.
and to turn not just any other villain, like they didn't turn, I mean, like the Chitauri into refugees. They turned the Skrulls because the Skrulls can turn into different people. So you'd think their ability to morph would make their life a lot easier, but they just feel like they've got nowhere to go. And like that scene where you see all of the Skrulls come out of hiding, and Ben Mendelsohn's character grabs his wife and his child. I was crying, dude. I was crying.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm so glad.
I got so fucking angry for 5 seconds when I thought he died.
Oh shit!
I was like, don't you do that, you motherfuckers! I just fell in love with this guy. Like, he just got his family back, and then he shows up. They don't even mention it, and I'm like, oh, thank God. I feel like there is an alternate version of that movie though, where he didn't make it, and I feel like it just didn't test well.
My assumption is that one of the drafts, he was going to become Nick Fury, but they kind of were like, oh, maybe not, because there's a scene where like, there's just a lot of personality between those two. Maybe because obviously he did inhabit the body of Nick Fury's boss for a while, but like, they had a lot of chemistry.
And then he also has some Sam Jackson in him. That Pulp Fiction.
Yes, dude, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. I don't think we can get into that because the 90s references were one of my favorite bits of this movie, but it's not really critical to my opinion. Let's talk about Sam Jackson. Sam Jackson comes back as Nick Fury, but like young, not really at all experienced Nick Fury, and it was so fun. I don't know, what did you feel about Sam Jackson's performance in this film?
I am honestly constantly surprised whenever Sam Jackson's in a Marvel movie. Because you would think that this role would just be like a lazy, like, you know, a type of role where it's like, oh, I'm just going to play Nick Fury. I just walk in. But every time he's in a movie, I'm always reminded of like, shit, Sam Jackson's really good. Why does he not do this in every other movie he's in?
He is so good. I will say some of my favorite scenes with him where I thought he brought that character out of Carol Danvers are the scenes where they're like laughing together. Like I don't remember any of the jokes, but all of the laughing was just so charming because they just seem like they're genuinely having fun together in these little moments of stress. Like the scene where they sit down to prove to each other that they're not Skrulls. It was the first bit in the movie where I really started to get that like there's like goosebumps of like, ooh, this feels like a fun Marvel movie. Like when he's explaining everything. And what's funny is like they managed to get across a lot of information that a lot of people have been wondering about Nick Fury. Like people have been like wondering like what's the background of this particular Nick Fury in the movies? Where did he come from? What's this? So they managed to do a lot of exposition in a non-boring way because it's got a completely normal reason for doing it. And
we learned about the toast.
Sorry?
We learned about the toast.
I don't know what you mean. What do you mean toast?
I can't believe you did not remember this pivotal moment of Nick Fury lore. He cannot eat toast unless it's cut diagonally.
Oh, yeah, of course.
That was one of my favorite bits.
That was good. Oh, man. I loved all of the eye gags like throughout the movie, constantly all the.
It felt like every time he got wounded, he hit his eye. Every single time.
Like, you know the bit where it's all bloodshot? I was like, oh, that was kind of boring. And then it ending up being, okay, all right. Do you want anything else to say, Nick Fury? Because we got to get into something big now.
Oh, we got to get into that big stuff. As much as I love the movie, I do feel like the scene where he types out the Avengers Initiative did feel a lot like Star Wars prequel-y. Like bad Star Wars prequel, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's one of those things that's like, okay, we didn't need that explained.
I only wish that the nickname Avenger was foreshadowed in the movie. Yeah. That felt a little silly. If only there had been some point where, you know, it was just hinted towards that her nickname was the Avenger. Like maybe if, you know, her best friend, something Rambo, what was her name?
Maria Rambeau.
Yeah, if Maria said it to her, like, "Oh, the Avengers back," or "used to be the Avengers," something like that.
Yeah, and also Avengers a weird nickname.
It is because she never really fought, so it's like, what is she avenging?
Yeah, science.
But I did enjoy part of that scene. I enjoyed the idea of him developing the idea for a superhero team based on her.
Yeah.
I like
It was
that.
the name. It was the picture. The photo was a weird
The
thing
photo and
of him.
the like Protectorate project. Delete, 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 delete. Avengers.
I wish they would have just focused on every key. A, B,
You mean like the
E.
sketch I did with the Hitler? It's like each key is like a massive press.
Nick Fury lost his goddamn eye.
Oh god. And okay. All right. Let's talk about my favorite character in the whole movie. Goose is the best.
Goose is the best.
Goose is my favorite. Oh my god, Goose was amazing. From the moment he turned up to pretty much after the movie, I was still thinking about how good Goose is. Like, it was such a creative use of like a pet in a movie, because a lot of times, you know, they're played for cute, and obviously there's bits where Goose is cute, but like, to make a joke character more and more integral to the plot as it went on was so fun.
I loved the Flurkin joke in the beginning, because I was like, if that's the only joke we get of it, that's great. The scroll where Talos is like, oh, get that away from me. I'm like, that's a great bit. And then they bring it up again later with the scanner, and I'm like, that's a great callback. And then the fucking tentacle creature.
It makes
I
total
legitimately
sense,
went,
though.
oh, God.
No, so did I. Like, Jen loved Goose so much, and like, I kept being like, I don't think, like, they keep doing this joke again and again, and I feel like there's something up, and she's like, Goose is cool. And then all of a sudden that happened, she was like, what has happened to Goose? And it makes total sense because, you know, it was Marvel's pet, so it makes sense that it would be an alien, you know? It totally checks out for me.
And I thought I would get tired of Sam Jackson with that cat, but I never did.
No, it was so... Even
During the first scene, I'm like, this is funny. I don't know if this can last the whole movie. And every time it happened, I'm like, no, I love it.
I mean, even we've kind of gotten used to it now because the character is so iconic. But in the moment where you find out the cat's name is Goose, that's just enough to make me die laughing. Like, the fact that she's a fighter pilot and the cat's Goose, it's just... It was so good. It was such good writing and so much marvelly fun. Quickly, what I want to mention, I really did not expect the Marvel twist. Like, that was so good. Like, it really pulled, because I'm gonna be honest, right? I'm not like, maybe this is bad, but if that character was a man, I would just be like, oh, that's Marvel. That's definitely Marvel. But making her a woman, maybe I'm sexist, but I was like, I didn't think of that the whole time. I completely didn't think that that could be Marvel. And then when it was relieved, I was like, oh my God, I'm an idiot. Of course.
Well, and like, at first I was like, okay, when is this Jude Law reveal going to come?
Yes. Yeah.
I was like, it's going to do some stupid Jude Law reveal. And then I was like, oh, that woman. I'm like, was she the woman from that comic that you were talking about?
Oh, yes. The older pilot.
She wasn't, but I was watching it and I was like, I think that's supposed to be that character, which is a pretty cool callback. And then when they said Marvel, I was like, fuck, that's smart.
It's so smart.
I'm like, that is so smart.
It was like the perfect reason to gender swap a character because it threw everyone off the trail, and then it totally made every possible part of sense. Because, like, I don't know a lot about Marvel, like the original Marvel, like Captain Marvel. Like, I don't know much about him, but like, you didn't need to, because
the best thing he ever did was dying of cancer.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Well, what I'm saying is
there's literally like a seminal story called The Death of Captain Marvel.
Oh, okay. I assumed that he died at some point to you know, make way for Captain Marvel. But like, it was really interesting, and I thought it was a very smart choice. Okay, we'll do final thoughts. John, do you have any final thoughts on Captain Marvel?
Yeah, I think, again, like I said, I think the way that they tell her origin story was really inventive and smart, and also I think went with a lot of people's critiques of Marvel movies where they're formulaic. I think this was able to play with that formula in a different and interesting way, and it made for a very fun viewing experience. And I also really now can't wait for Endgame.
We don't have time to talk about the trailer, but
we don't.
Oh my
God.
God.
Well, we should. The after credit scenes.
Yes.
Where she shows up, I thought that was really cool. I am curious though, because Cap still has his beard, so obviously it's super early on because he hasn't shaved it. Anyway, Whatever. I can't get into that.
Speculation will be the death of us. My final thoughts are that yes, this movie did have a little bit slow to start, but I absolutely loved it in the end. And I wonder if maybe when I see it again, if the start will be more enjoyable for me because I'll know what's going on, you know, and I'll be able to spot all the little things that they put in the start.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot I missed in the beginning Kree stuff, especially.
Like hints towards their deception.
Yeah.
I also want to say that a lot of people that I've talked to in person, I don't know why this is a problem that people have with movies. People keep saying that she's too overpowered at the end, and they say that for Wonder Woman as well. I'm not comparing these two movies again. I feel really bad because I keep comparing them. But it's
Guess what? John McClane is fucking overpowered as hell in Die Hard.
Okay, true.
Literally, one man cannot take on an entire terrorist cell with
true.
No shoes on. Okay, so everyone can shut up.
But I will say, with regards to this movie and the criticism it gets, and the same shit gets told at Wonder Woman, it's not because they're both women, but maybe it is, because that feels like maybe there's a connection between people being annoyed with powerful women.
I would say 90% of it is because of that.
The fact of the matter is, she's not overpowered because she only spends 10% of this movie absolutely obliterating people, and it's deserved because the movie builds to it, and when she gets it, it's like, yay. And what people are really complaining about is for future installments. You know, they're like, oh, well, what about the future? I'm like, why the fuck do you worry about the future? They'll figure it out. They'll find some reason.
It's called a dramatic payoff.
like, what would you rather have the end of this movie? She takes the chip off and she can fly, and that's it. Like, you want her to fucking soar, and it makes for the best scene in the movie, which is going to be my final thought. And after this, I'm going to hand it over to you, John, to say something and then wrap it up. The scene where they Indiana Jones the fuck out of Captain Marvel was perfect. It was really summed up the whole theme of the movie, and I absolutely loved it when when fucking, what's his name? I don't even know, dumbass Jude Law is like, come on.
Yeah, Jude Law. I don't even know his name.
You can do it. Give it to me. I'm fucking Jude Law. Let's fucking do it. Show me what you got. And she just fucking Indiana.
She just fucking blasts him. It's so great because in the theater, they did a good job because I think I felt what we were supposed to think and what she's feeling of like, oh God, are we really going to have to do this?
Yes, Jenny.
She doesn't need to prove anything to you. And then she says it.
Okay, that I will say that was my favorite scene, and to see Jenny's frustration that she thought she was going to play into it, and then the movie theater was not busy, by the way. I have to say this. Jenny cheered by herself in like maybe 30 people were in the cinema.
Oh my God, it's okay. One guy clapped for Coulson, so
I clapped for Coulson. I love Coulson.
What?
Didn't get to mention him. I love Coulson so much, but he's amazing. So yeah, that's what I'll say. I'm handing over to you now, John.
I loved this movie. I very much enjoyed it. I think, obviously, I don't rewatch any of these movies ever, except for like once or twice. But I do think this is one of my favorite origin movies, and it's one of those movies that I was glad I went with my wife and her two nieces, because after the movie they were beaming. They were having a great time, and I really can't wait for Endgame because it's going to be great. And also, she goes Super Saiyan and fucks shit up, and it is one of the most... Usually, Marvel movies are very bad with their third acts and their major villain fights. 9 times out of 10, maybe not 9 times out of 10, but I'd say 50% of the time they're underwhelming.
Yes.
It's good guy versus bad version of good guy. This, we just get a cathartic release of her awesome power, and it was great.
Thank you for talking with me, John, and I'm sure we'll talk about little details of this movie in future podcasts that we really didn't want to talk about in this review. Thank you for listening. Anyone who's listened, I hope you enjoyed this semi-shorter episode, but it was still quite long, and we'll catch you guys in a bit.